Hello and welcome to today's episode of Thrive After 45. I'm Denise Drinkwalter, heart whisperer, midlife mirror, and mentor. And every week I am honored to share energy and space with inspiring guests whose stories reflect so many possibilities of thriving beyond 45. Together, we uncover the whispers of the heart, the power of midlife transformation, and the wisdom that fuels expansion. What if the next chapter of your midlife was not limited by borders at all, but expanded by opportunities, careers, and possibilities you never imagined exploring? It is an absolute honor and a privilege to welcome and introduce Andy Semotiuk to our show today. Andy is an immigration attorney who has spent more than 40 years guiding international professionals through one of the most confusing and overwhelming systems out there, navigating work visas and crossing borders into new career opportunities. Over the decades, he has helped thousands of individuals overcome the complexities of U.S. immigration law and step into futures they once thought were totally out of reach. But what makes Andy's presence especially meaningful for us? Women in midlife who are reinventing ourselves, exploring new professional chapters, or even considering opportunities beyond familiar borders. Andy doesn't just specialize in law. He specializes in transition, reinvention, and opening doors people didn't even realize were available to them. And today we're going to explore his wealth of experience and the deeper human side of immigration, how movement, career evolution, and possibility intersect in powerful ways. And somewhere in our conversation, I will ask Andy a very important question about the misconceptions about U.S. work visas. Welcome to our show today, Andy. It's great to have
Thank-
you.
Thanks. I'm delighted to be with you today, and I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Before we came on the air, Andy said, I can't wait. I've got some wonderful ideas that I want to share with the audience because transitions is something that he is very familiar with, obviously, with the work you do as an immigration lawyer, right?
Right.
That's all about transitions and
Correct.
very unknown transitions, right?
Correct.
What are some of the stumbling blocks that you have noticed over the years that are most common for people who are in this? I want to move, I want to work elsewhere, I want to change everything. That will give me a new beginning.
Well, that's a great question to start with. You know the saying, the grass is always greener.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of that in immigration, and I'll just
Yeah,
share one story about how that may be true.
sure.
I used to practice in Edmonton, Alberta, which is one of the coldest cities in the world. And one day, a client came in to see me, and he was from Florida. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. Most people from Edmonton dream about, moving to Florida. This guy's moving up to Edmonton of all places.
Right.
So I asked him, well, why are you coming up to Edmonton?
Yeah.
He said, well, it's very simple. We're having a delightful life in Florida. We had a nice house and near the ocean and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, one day, a storm came, and it was a terrible storm, and
Mm-hmm.
it washed us out basically. The town where we were living, they had a hard time of it and had to
Mm-hmm.
recover. And after that storm, hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
he looked down the street that he lived on, and he saw one sign for sale house, house for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So it started him thinking. But he thought, well, this is Florida, beautiful, these
Mm-hmm.
hurricanes are, you know, once in a while. But unfortunately, the next year they had another hurricane.
No.
Yes. And at the end of the hurricane again, he looked down the street and he saw like multiple for sale signs.
Oh, wow.
And that was a signal for him, I think I better pick up
Mm.
and go somewhere else. Now, Edmonton's not the end of the world, but you can almost see the end of the world from Edmonton. So, now I grew up in Edmonton, so I don't want to be too dismissive of the
Of
of the city.
course.
Growing up, it's one of the greatest places on earth to live in.
Hmm.
You can walk out the house without even locking the door, come back
Mm,
5 hours later, and you're fine. That's
right.
the kind of life you can have in Edmonton.
Hmm.
So it's understandable why this person came up in that context.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's a little example of what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. So interesting because it catastrophes happen. And
Yeah.
sometimes those are the things that are the precipice for change. I would love to have it where we don't have to face big traumatic events, whether they're within our abilities to change or not, but the result being the idea of people choosing to change location, not for the purpose, and it would be ideal if it's not for the purpose to get away from something, but to explore other possibilities, like I shared in the beginning. Do you find that people, or is it all over the map as to why people move into, Andy, help! I need your help.
I have to say, often it's a push rather than a pull, meaning
Okay.
I don't like, for example, weather in Toronto or the
Hmm.
economy or whatever. But
Sure.
here's a strange thing. For
Yeah.
example, I think Canadians, by and large, are not too thrilled with President Trump and his
Sure.
saying he wants that Canada to be the next state and so on.
Right.
So I find I'm
Hmm.
such a person. Now I'm a member of the U.S. and Canadian bars. I practiced in Los Angeles for 10 years and in New York for 5. So I
Right.
know all about America. And I
Right.
like America. I love America.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of surprised because right now the traffic is going southbound. You might think as a Canadian, you think Americans a lot may be
Right.
disenchanted and want to come up north.
Right.
Some are, but
Hmm.
it's not a big tidal wave or anything like that. So to each his or her own, they see life differently than
Yeah.
perhaps we do.
Right.
And it's the life of opportunity that they're looking for,
Hmm.
mainly.
Hmm.
Climate is one thing, but
Sure.
often it's economic, better jobs, better living conditions, cheaper lifestyles, these kind of things that attract people to go southbound. And
Okay.
so that's in the realm of what you're talking about, which is choosing something better for yourself and for your family and perhaps for your growth economically. For example, in my practice, there are a lot of entrepreneurs
Hmm.
who are
Hmm.
interested in going southbound. So they're business people. They see a better business opportunity down there. They want to, get a taste of the American dream, sort of.
Right. There you
And
go.
and I like to tell my clients, they say, well,
Hmm.
are there, how's it going with other clients? I like to tell them that I
Hmm.
have clients who went down to the United States, say 20 or 30 years ago. They're multimillionaires. They
Hmm.
kick their feet up onto to the desk and smoke cigars and count their money. And Andy Semotiuk is someone they forgot about a long time ago. You know, there are people
Yeah.
like that, and there
Hmm.
is that kind of a life. And then there are others who maybe, they move, but life is not, all, rosy and perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but the thing is, just the idea and the effort is what makes us human and
Yes.
what makes it all worthwhile. Why not
Right.
try? Why not
Right.
do better, so to speak?
Right. So, is there a process that you find is really important for people who are listening right now and going, Denise, I never even thought that this is a possibility to look at moving out of not only province, if you're in Canada or if you're in the States, moving out of state into province, like is that something that there's ideas that are really important to consider when you're listening to this for the first time and all of a sudden we've given you a new placeholder possibility?
Well, I'll give you, here's a visual that you can do for yourself. I have here in my hand a tape measure,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to draw an analogy that I think may make
Perfect.
sense for you. If, let's say, we put 1 inch equals 1 year in your life,
Okay.
let me ask you, Denise, how long do you think most women live? To what age do most women live?
I'm going to say 80 to 90
80
years of
is
age.
right. Statistically, it's around 80. And for
Yeah.
men, it might be slightly lower, 80, 79, 70, or it's around the 80 mark. So let's just say
Okay.
80.
Sure.
And if you take a tape measure and you allow 1 inch per
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
and you stretch it out to how old you are and go on all the way to 80 and
Right.
put your finger on your age right now,
Okay.
it's amazing. And I encourage everybody to do that at home
Y-
with their
Yeah.
children and put your finger down what age you're on right now.
Yeah.
You suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I don't have that
Mm,
much time left. I've lived a lot of my life already. Like I just got
hmm.
a few, a guy like me, I got just a few years still
Yep.
to go, right?
Yep.
If you're 25, you got a lot to go still, but
Right.
it's a good visual way of reminding yourself, look, time is going by.
Hmm.
You got a life to lead. Make the most of what you got left.
Mm,
And one of the ways you can make the most of what you got left is to consider moving to the place that will make it the easiest for you and the best for you to do the best that you can do with your life.
mm.
In short, that's the way we put it.
I love that. Now, one thing that's coming forward for me, and this is something that I talk about with my clients all the time, is what is it that you want? You have
Okay,
to know what you want in order for you to reach what you're dreaming of.
right.
So it before you start doing this, and well, I think it's better over here, I think it's better over there. You mentioned, Andy, at the beginning, how to each his own is really important. So,
Yeah,
what you see others doing doesn't necessarily mean that's good for you. It's good to get the information so you can make the best decision you can in your point in time where you are now. But
right.
you need to know what it is you really dream of. What is the ultimate? How am I going to live my life? And this is exactly why we have this podcast, because we are talking to women about doing for you, by you, because of you. And when you do that, everything else comes into place. But when you keep doing for others, you keep lowering your cup of optimism and you end up burning out, or you end up, not being the full human that you get to be. So,
Good thoughts. Uh, Knowing what you want is
mhm.
one of the biggest questions in life. In fact, like philosophically, there are two big questions in our lives.
Yes.
Number one is, why am I here?
Hmm.
Why am I here? You know? And the other is, who am I?
Hmm.
Who am I? You could spend your whole life asking yourself, who am I? And in between these 2 years, there's a whole universe as large as the universe out there that you can explore to answer that question, who am I? And I
Hmm.
believe the answer to the question, who am I, gives you the answer to the second question, why am I here?
Mm.
If you're asking yourself, why am I here? Ask yourself, who am I? Meaning, look at your life and your antecedents,
Yeah.
where you came from. And
Yeah.
in there, there's an answer as to what you're all about and what you should be doing with your life if you spend enough time looking at it. I believe that's true.
Hmm.
So that's a very philosophical way of putting it. But a more practical way, I'm just going to give you one example
Yes.
that I think is very helpful. There was
Mm-hmm.
a guy named Carl Walenda who was a famous tightrope walker.
Yes.
And I think it was in the 1980s, he was walking a tightrope in San Juan, Puerto Rico, between two high towers, two buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And he slipped and fell to his death. But before he died, he was interviewed by some journalists,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked him, "Why on earth do you walk the tightrope?" And his answer was very insightful. And his answer was, he said, "All my life, I live most on walking the tightrope. And everything before is a prelude to, and everything after is a postscript after my life on the tightrope." So what was, in his case, that tightrope was the experience was so powerful to him that he was willing to risk his life for the sake of getting up there and performing. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to ask, we have to ask ourselves, what's so powerful for us in our lives that we would be willing to
Mm.
even walk a tightrope? Okay, well, maybe not walk a tightrope or risk your life, but what is it that's so powerful in your life that would move your life forward and that you'd be willing to risk to get it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great question. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's a guy named Jim Rohn, who's a big
Oh,
famous
yes.
speaker in the US. I had the opportunity to actually meet him.
Wow.
And one of the questions he used to ask is, "So what are your goals?" And he used to say, after someone wrote down their goals, he would say, "Well, that's very exciting if it was exciting." And if it wasn't, he would say, "Well, why aren't they exciting? Why aren't they so exciting that I get excited just listening to
This.
you talk about your goals?" So the idea is your goals have to be
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
They should be exciting. And uh, that's part of living the kind of life that we should probably live.
Yeah.
And once you got the goals down, well, then you go after the goals. You have to define what is the goal, and then what price are you prepared to pay? Are you
Yeah.
prepared to die for your goal, or at the very least walk a tightrope for your goal? Or maybe not that, but how much are you willing to pay?
Right.
And then you go after it, paying the price.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and when you do it through that lens and that conviction, my belief is you can't go wrong
No.
because you're going after what you are here for, what is your reason
Yeah.
for being. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I call the unique ability. I just came off a program, just before this program, I came off a program with a guy named Dan Sullivan, who's called the strategic coach. And he was talking about ambition. And he said, he's 81 years old, and he has
Love
more
it.
ambition today than he ever had in his life. And he was saying, ambition equals excitement.
Yeah.
You get excited, and it's a sort of a loop. The more excited, the more going. So
Yeah.
these are all things, are inside yourself and figure out what's your unique ability. What
Hmm.
what can you give the world that the world needs, that
Yeah.
they're crying out there for
Hmm.
you to give. And if you're if and that that forgive me for lecturing like that. I
No,
love to
this is good. This is no, this is
lecture.
great.
Um, the key thing there is passion,
Yeah.
like the emotional commitment to the
Yep.
goal.
Yeah.
If you don't have the passion, you're driving down the wrong highway. You
Yeah.
got to find the highway where your passion is, no matter what it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
and get on there. So I'll just share, if I
Yeah.
may, in my own life, how I've
Absolutely.
sort of applied this.
Yes.
So, I thought, hey, I'm a big speaker. I'm going to be a big, I was a Toastmaster. I got a plaque up here above my head
Yeah.
uh, because I was one of these, distinguished Toastmasters for being in the Toastmasters
Sure.
organization. that's a, learn how to speak publicly,
Right.
organization. But that's not what the world wanted from me. That what the
Mm,
world wanted from me, I realized over time, was for me to write. So now when I started writing, I was terrible. In university, I barely made it through English 101. Barely.
yeah.
In fact, the professor who taught me would turn over in his grave today if he saw what I'm doing. But I write for Forbes. I've been writing for Forbes for 10 years, and I'm a former UN correspondent.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come naturally at first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but over time, as I wrote little articles for student newspapers and essays and stuff like that. And over time,
Mm-hmm.
I got better, better, better until now I'm good enough to be published. But I still have this passion for speaking and presenting.
Yeah.
What we are doing right now
Yes.
in my life is my passion,
Mm-hmm.
sharing ideas with people like
Yeah.
this.
Exactly.
I can't think, in fact, I'll say this. I can't think of a better place in the world I'd rather be and a better time than right now
Mm-hmm.
and with a better person than you and your
Mm.
audience right now. This is the highest thing I can do with my life at this moment. And that's what we have to do. We have to
And
find places like that and do
yeah,
that.
I I'm honored to be having this conversation. I really am because it is 100% real, authentic, and exactly what we are about
Yeah,
in our conversations here. We
yeah,
are here to show people that everybody has their journeys. And isn't it interesting that the outside pieces, you were the top of the Toastmasters, you were giving and giving, and you
yeah.
thought that was it, and you were recognized for it, but there was still a loop that wasn't finished.
Correct, correct.
And I love that it stayed in the realm of communication.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and it's part of my, looping back to what we were talking about earlier.
Sure.
I have to ask myself, well, why am I so concerned
Yeah.
about communication? And I'll share a sort of an intimate story. It's kind of almost like sacred. My
Wow.
mother was deaf. She
Mm-hmm.
did not hear. As a young girl, she lost her hearing to illnesses.
Hmm.
So in my life, I had to learn how to communicate with her. Now she lip read. She was able to
Yes.
read when you're talking. She could figure out what you're saying by how you're making your lip move.
Yeah.
So she'd read my lips. She had slight hearing on 20% on her right ear. So that made up enough for her to understand what I was talking about.
Right.
But communication was very important to her and through her to me. And I realized, wow, that's one of the reasons why I'm so dedicated to
Right.
communication, effective communication to this day.
Yeah. Because there is communication and then there is effective
Yeah,
communication. There's a
yeah,
huge difference. Thank you for that
yeah,
um, additional piece. And I love what you're saying because to me, I think that's true for all of us. When we look back in our history growing up, that's where our true, authentic selves really show who we are. So if we're in the dark about who am I really, those important questions you were sharing earlier, one of the techniques I use with my clients is to go and do your milestone history and tune
uh-huh,
into what you were like as a young child when nothing was interfering. What did you do? What did you love to do? And why did you love to do it? And start stripping down to your bare bones and really understand more about who you are through that
yeah,
lens. And it's
yeah,
very interesting to do. Yeah.
yeah. And of
Andy.
course, there's mistakes along the way. You have
Oh,
to make mistakes, right?
absolutely. We if we don't have those mistakes, we don't grow. I mean,
Right.
that's one piece of growth. I don't think it's the only, but I think it's an important piece to understand, whoops, nope, that I won't do that again, and here's why, and
Yeah,
understanding behind the mistakes and learning through those mistakes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Andy, what an incredible conversation. Are there any pieces we've talked about so many different things which have all come together to talk about, I think, the underlying piece is knowledge. Starting over can be a challenge, but there are things that you can do to make it easier.
Mhm.
We talked about moving places. I'm wondering if there's anything in particular that you can share, if there are misconceptions about U.S. work visas that people need to understand if this is an avenue they're thinking about.
Briefly, just because you're a Canadian doesn't mean you're entitled to go to the United States. You have to get a visa to enter.
Okay.
And to work there, you have to have a work visa. And to have a work visa, you have to have someone offering a job, and not just any job, but a job
Okay.
that's in short supply in the United States, like a position. So usually that means at least a bachelor's degree or higher.
Okay.
And I can say briefly, there are five ways to immigrate to the United States. One is marry your way in. That is to say, either a wife sponsoring you or a
Mm-hmm.
family member who's an American
Mm-hmm.
sponsoring you. Another is study your way in, go to university, for example, take a master's degree or bachelor's
Mm-hmm.
degree. A third way is to invest your way in. If you have a lot of money, say like $1 million, you can invest in a project and you can get a permanent residence in the United States. A fourth way is to work your way in. If you get a work visa, for example, if
Mm-hmm.
you're a professional, usually there are categories of professionals that will enable you to get a work visa right away. For example, doctor, lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
architect, engineer,
Okay.
nurse, any kind of profession.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's asylum. You're trying to escape,
Mm,
have a well-founded fear of persecution, and you're trying to escape from that country that's going to persecute you. So you come to the United States.
mm.
Those same avenues are open to Canada in the same way.
Okay. Okay. So they go both ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything that you would like to share with our audience to help them make some decisions, make some ideas on paper, anything that you'd love to share before we close off this incredible time we've had together?
Yeah, I'm going to share 7 rules for a successful life.
Perfect.
Okay. These are my rules, but I
Yeah.
learned them from others. Number one, they're easy. No, they're hard to do, but
Mm.
easy to state.
Ah.
And you have to try and lead your life this way. Number one, come on time.
Mm.
Number two, finish what you start. Number three, do what you promise. Number four, be sincere. Number five, actions speak louder than words. Number six, be kind. Number seven, be thankful for what you have. 7 rules for a successful life. I try to lead my life by those rules. I don't
Hmm.
always succeed, but I do my best. And I think if I did lead my life that way, it would be a good life.
Amazing. Those are great, great lessons to live by. I totally agree. As I'm listening to you, I could finish them as you started. I'd be like, yep, yep, that's what it's. And
Yeah.
absolutely. And the success, I know people define success differently, but what you're sharing is your life, not from the outside in, but from the
Sure.
inside out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Andy, thank you so much for sharing, taking time out to be with us today, and giving the incredible examples. I love so many. I'm going to go and find my measuring tool now. I think that's amazing. I am such a visual person, so that was perfect. And thank you for describing it for for those listeners who are not on the YouTube channel but on the podcast. So thank you again for being here with us today, Andy, and sharing so much. For those of you listening, we will have in our show notes how to contact and find Andy so that you can reach out and take your learning and move forward and move if that's the next opportunity that's presenting itself your way. Make sure that you share, follow, subscribe, give us reviews. Everything helps to move these conversations into a wider audience so more people can benefit from our incredible guests. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and make sure you thrive after 45. Bye bye.